Reddit woman. Why did you start dating a married man and how did it end? He said they were separated, so why did I get a Christmas card from his wife? We met at a conference. He was charming, confident, older. Said he liked my laugh. I liked that he didn't play games. We had drinks that turned into dinner, dinner that turned into a weekend, and by Monday morning I was already trying not to fall. The second time we met, he told me he was married. But it's over. We live in the same house for the kids, but it's done. Separate bedrooms. Separate lives. Just haven't finalized it yet. I should have walked. But he said all the right things. That I made him feel alive again. That I was the first person who actually saw him. That it was just about timing and soon he'd be free. It didn't feel like cheating. We stayed in hotels. He never rushed out after. He called during the day. He introduced me to a friend from work who actually knew about us. There were no sneaking around vibes. It felt real. Too real. By month 4, I was asking questions. When will you move out? He said after the holidays. They'll take it hard if I do it before Christmas, he told me. Let me get through this one, then I'll file. So I waited. Bought him a gift. A scarf. He joked that he'd wear it on the day he left. Then Christmas came. I sent him a card. Inside was a note. For your last holiday pretending. Next year, we start fresh. He didn't respond. Not until New Year's Eve. I was home alone, drinking wine, feeling foolish, when my mail arrived late. It was a stack of holiday cards, friends, coworkers, and one I didn't recognize. The return address was his. I opened it, confused. A smiling photo of him, his wife, and 2 kids. Matching pajamas. Cozy couch. Fire in the background. And handwritten across the top. Happy holidays from his last name, family. Wishing you warmth and joy this season. My hands went numb. I flipped the card over. A little note. So grateful for another beautiful year together. Karen. Karen. The wife. Still very much married. Still playing happy family. I sent him a photo of the card and just typed, interesting definition of separated. His reply? It's complicated. No apology. No shame. Just that. I never responded. I blocked him. Burned the scarf. And now every Christmas, when the cards roll in, I check the return addresses. I keep that card in a drawer. Not because I want to remember him, but because I want to remember what it looks like when someone lies with a smile. I was his therapist. He was my patient. And he forgot to mention he was married. It started with 45-minute sessions. He came in quiet, unsure, worn down by a complicated relationship. I didn't push too hard at first. He was vulnerable, insightful. Spoke like a man who'd been broken and was still learning how to breathe. He talked about how lonely he felt. About emotional neglect. About sleeping on the couch for 2 years. I asked if he wanted to work on the marriage. He said there wasn't a marriage. He never wore a ring. Never said my wife. Always my situation. I should have been more careful. But I wasn't. Therapists are trained to hold boundaries. But I wasn't his licensed therapist, I was his coach. A gray area in private practice where coaching doesn't follow the same codes. And that's how it started. First, longer sessions. Then texts. Then coffee. He sent articles that reminded him of things we'd discussed. Bookmarked poems. Told me I saw him in a way no one else ever had. I told myself I was just being supportive. But when I found myself dressing up before our meetings, lingering when he lingered, smiling when he said, I wish I had someone like you in my life. I knew. It happened one night after a session ran late. We were the last 2 in the building. The air felt charged. He looked at me and said, this is the safest I felt in years. Then he kissed me. And I let him. We told ourselves it was okay. That it was real. That his marriage was over and everything but paperwork. He'd sleep over when his schedule allowed. We talked about moving to another city. Starting clean. He said he just needed time. I believed him. Until one morning, I found an email open on his laptop. I wasn't snooping. I just wanted to send myself a file. But the inbox was open. And the top message? Subject, Sam's parent-teacher conference rescheduled. From Karen, last name withheld. Body, can you make it this time? I already told them you were coming. Don't forget it's your week to bring snack packs. My stomach dropped. I clicked through. Photos. Notes. A family calendar. He wasn't separated. He was very married. Present. Involved. a dad. And I had been his outlet, his fantasy, his escape. I ended it that night. He cried, said he was trying to fix things his way. I told him, you didn't want therapy. You wanted a mirror who would only reflect what you liked about yourself. I cut all contact, quit the practice, moved cities. It's been 3 years. I still flinch when someone says you're so easy to talk to. Because now I know, some people don't want to be helped. They want to be believed. Even when every word they say is a lie. He was my boss. I thought it was love until I met his real family. I was 27, recently promoted, and hungry to prove myself. He was 41, the VP of our division, confident, well-spoken, powerful without being intimidating. Everyone respected him. I admired him. At first. It started harmless. He'd bring me coffee during long meetings. Compliment my work. Stay a little too long when we chatted by the elevator. Eventually he asked if I wanted to grab drinks, no pressure. He told me up front he was married. But we haven't been together in years. It's just logistics now. She knows. I told myself I was too smart to fall for that line. And then I fell anyway. He took me to restaurants I could never afford, remembered my favorite wine, read the poetry I sent him. He said he felt alive again. Said I was his fresh start. We kept it quiet at work. Secret, yes, but it felt thrilling. 3 months in, he said he was filing for divorce. Just waiting until the timing's right. It'll be easier after the holidays. Of course. It always is. Then came the charity gala. He invited me personally. Said the company needed fresh faces and that I deserved to be seen. He told me I'd be representing our team. That he'd be proud to have me there. I spent a week prepping. New dress. Hair and makeup. Nerves twisted with excitement. And then I got there. The room was stunning, high ceilings, crystal chandeliers, champagne flowing. I spotted him across the room. He was smiling. Standing next to a woman in a navy blue gown. She had her hand on his chest. And he kissed her cheek like he'd done it 1,000 times. Someone near me whispered, "They're such a beautiful couple. Did you see their daughter earlier? Looks just like him." Daughter. I felt like the floor vanished. I left before dessert. He called the next day, voice low. "I told you it's complicated. She was only there for appearances." I said so was I. Then I hung up. I didn't quit my job right away. I needed a plan. A new offer. Distance. I kept things professional. Cold. He tried to act like nothing had happened. Smiling in meetings, making casual conversation. But I stopped being his. I became me again. 6 months later, I accepted a position across the country. On my last day, I left a note in his office drawer. "You taught me something valuable. Never mistake romance for respect. And never fall in love with a man who hides you in plain sight." He never responded. Now I run my own team. Lead with clarity. And when I see women fall for the charm of power dressed up as love, I remember the taste of champagne in a room full of lies. And I never forget who I used to be. He said she didn't understand him. Then she sent me a video that proved otherwise. We met through mutual friends at a dinner where he sat next to me, and by dessert I felt like we were already orbiting the same secret. He was older, successful, wore his sadness like a tailored suit. He told me he was married, yes, but barely. We're like roommates. She's cold. We haven't touched each other in years. She doesn't get me the way you do. It felt dangerous, romantic, like I was rescuing him from a life half-lived. We were careful, met in out-of-the-way places, never texted anything explicit. He said she wouldn't care anyway. She checked out long ago. I believed him, because when we were together it felt real, intense, like we were each other's oxygen. We'd lie in bed and talk for hours. He told me I made him feel seen, alive. That with me, he remembered who he was. And I thought this is what love is supposed to feel like. Until the message came. It was a Monday. I was in my car about to head to work when my phone pinged. A video sent from an unknown number. No subject. Just a file. I almost deleted it, assuming it was spam. But I opened it. And my world tilted. It was him. Laughing. Sitting beside a woman I recognized from one of his social media posts. A family photo he said was old. She leaned over, kissed his cheek, then turned the camera to their living room, where their teenage son was decorating a Christmas tree. He said, "Come on, babe, sit with me," and pulled her into his lap. They looked In love. Not broken. Not distant. Not roommates. Attached was a message. You don't know me, but I'm the woman he promised to grow old with. Thought you should see what lies sound like when they think no one's watching. No yelling. No threats. Just the truth. Raw. Unfiltered. Undeniable. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. He called me later that day as if nothing had happened. I let it ring. Then I blocked him. He showed up at my apartment 2 days later. I didn't let him in. He knocked for 15 minutes, then left. I never heard from him again. The video? I still have it. Not because I want to relive the pain, but because sometimes you need to be reminded how easy it is to fall for a script. He told me she was cold. She told me the truth without saying a word. And I learned the hard way. If he speaks about her with cruelty, one day he'll speak about you the same way. We were friends first. Then I fell for him. Then I became the other woman. We met at work. He was funny. Warm. The kind of guy who always knew when you needed an extra 5 minutes to breathe or a bad coffee joke to pull you out of your head. We became friends fast. The easy kind, inside jokes, shared playlists, side conversations during boring meetings. I knew he was married. He didn't hide it. But he never brought her up unless it was surface level. She's great, just busy with the kids. Or she's more of a morning person. Still, there was a line. Until there wasn't. It was a conference in Chicago. We'd both been invited. Our team booked separate rooms, but we shared a cab from the airport. Talked until midnight over hotel bar drinks. Laughed too hard. Sat too close. When he touched my hand, I didn't pull away. I didn't mean to fall for him. It wasn't an affair in the explosive way people imagine. It was a slow, quiet erosion. A million harmless moments that piled into one undeniable truth. I loved him. And I hated that I did. We kissed once. Just once. After that, everything changed. He didn't ghost me or confess to his wife. We just went quiet. Still friendly at work. Still pretending. But the way he avoided eye contact, the awkward silence between us, it said everything. I tried to end it. Tried to date other people. But he stayed in my head like a song I couldn't turn off. Then one night, months later, he texted. I think I made a mistake. He came over. We didn't sleep together. We just talked. He cried. I cried. And I saw a man who was torn between guilt and longing, but not enough of either to choose. I asked him, would you leave her for me? He said nothing. And that's when I knew. I was never the future. I was the escape. The safe place he visited when marriage felt heavy, but not a place he'd ever move into. I ended it. Blocked his number. Switched departments. It's been 2 years. Sometimes I still wonder if he thinks of me when his wife hands him the morning paper, when their kids crawl into bed, when he sits at his desk and hears a joke he would have shared with me. I hope he does. Not because I want him back, but because I hope at least once he realizes what it cost him to never decide. And I remind myself, if someone makes you feel like a secret, they were never meant to be part of your story's ending. He told me they slept in separate rooms. His son told me that was a lie. He was a single dad, at least that's what I thought. We met at a wine tasting. He told me he was basically divorced, said they were just staying under one roof for the kids. We haven't been a couple in years, he told me. Just co-parents. She's more like a roommate at this point. He wasn't pushy. He didn't try to win me over with drama. He was thoughtful, patient, real. And I believed him. At first, we only saw each other on weekends. Then once or twice during the week when he could get out. Always met at my place. Always said he didn't want to complicate things for his kids. I respected that. I even admired it. Until one afternoon, he brought his son with him. Unexpectedly. We were supposed to grab lunch at a quiet cafe. He texted me last minute, hope it's okay, had my little guy with me and didn't want to cancel. I said yes. I was nervous. But when I met his son, 7, curly-haired, sharp little smile, I melted. We talked about dinosaurs and ice cream flavors. He was sweet, bright, and clearly adored his dad. Then came the moment that cracked it all. As we were getting up to leave, I asked if he'd had fun. He said yeah. Can I tell Mommy we went to lunch with your friend? I blinked. Sure. Then he added in that innocent, sing-song voice only kids can get away with. Daddy and Mommy still sleep in the big bed, but I can't go in anymore 'cause they locked the door. I laughed awkwardly. My boyfriend, his dad, froze. I looked at him. He gave that tight, closed-mouth smile like he was about to panic but didn't want to show it. We said goodbye. I kissed his son on the cheek, waved them off, and went home in silence. I didn't ask. I didn't accuse. I just waited. That night, I sent a single text. "Are you really separated or just bored?" He didn't respond. The next morning, he texted. I didn't want to complicate things. Please don't punish me for trying to protect everyone. Protect? From what? The truth? I never replied. Because if you need a child to lie by omission for your affair to continue, you're not protecting them. You're using them. He reached out a few more times, half excuses, half apologies. I deleted them all. It wasn't the sleeping arrangements that broke me. It was the look in that little boy's eyes when he proudly told me how Mommy and Daddy always keep the door locked. That's when I realized I was never the priority, just the person who believed I was. He said it was just until the kids were older. I wasted 7 years on that lie. I was 29 when I met him. He was 38, married with 2 kids, and he told me the truth right away. At least his version of the truth. We haven't been in love in years. We stay together for the kids. Once they're older, we'll separate. It's already decided. I know how it sounds. I knew then too. But he was kind, smart, thoughtful in a way men my age just weren't. He listened when I spoke, remembered my coffee order, made me feel like I wasn't just wanted, I was needed. The plan was always the same. Wait until his kids were older. Then he'd leave. Then we could start our life together. I believed him. Year 1 was mostly stolen weekends and long phone calls. He cried sometimes. Told me how trapped he felt. How I gave him hope. I told myself it was love. By year 3, I stopped telling friends about him. They didn't understand. They called me the other woman. But I didn't feel like the other woman. I felt like his future. He bought me a necklace on our 4th anniversary. Whispered, "I wish I could give you more." By year 5, I started to change. I wanted real weekends. Real dinners. To not have to hide when his wife called. I asked when. When would this shift from secret to something we could say out loud? He said, after our daughter's graduation. She's only got 2 more years. Then I'll be free. So I waited. I put off dating. I turned down a job overseas. I told myself the love I had was rare and worth waiting for. Then came year 7. His daughter graduated. I picked out an apartment in a different city. One he and I had talked about moving to together. I showed it to him. Told him I was ready. And he went quiet. "I just need a little more time," he said. "She's going through a transition. It's not a good moment." That was the moment I knew. There would never be a good moment. Because I wasn't his future. I was his escape. A fantasy he let himself live in part-time to survive a marriage he had no intention of leaving. I ended it that night. He begged. Called. Emailed. Said things like, "After everything we've been through?" But all we'd been through was me waiting. And him delaying. Now I'm 36. It took a long time to forgive myself, not just for loving him, but for giving him the best years of my heart while he gave me only the hours his wife didn't notice were missing. But I'm not bitter. I'm awake. And I'll never again mistake patience for progress or love for limbo. I was the mistress. Until his wife asked me to coffee. I'd been seeing him for 6 months when I got the message. It came from a number I didn't recognize. Short and direct. "Hi. I think we should talk. Coffee? Tomorrow at 11. Just us." She signed it with her name. His wife's name. My heart stopped. I stared at it for 15 minutes, wondering if it was a trap. If she knew. If this was the moment everything came crashing down. I'd known he was married from day 1. He told me they were done living together for appearances for the kids. Said they'd started the paperwork. Claimed she was cold, distant, unaffectionate. I should have walked away. But he made me feel chosen. Special. Like I was part of his real life while she was just background noise. Until she messaged me. I almost didn't go. But curiosity won. Guilt too. So the next morning I showed up at a small cafe on the east side. She was already there, sipping tea like she hadn't just invited the woman sleeping with her husband to breakfast. She smiled when I walked in. I sat. There was a long silence before she said, "You're not the first." I blinked. "Sorry. You're not the first woman he's done this with." But you're the first one I thought might actually listen. She wasn't angry. She wasn't shaking. She looked tired. Like someone who had cried it all out already and now just wanted the truth to have a witness. She told me everything. How he had affairs every few years. Always the same pattern. Vulnerable women, elaborate stories about a dead marriage, promises he never kept. She tried to leave once, but he threatened to take the kids. And worse? He was convincing. To everyone. Her family, his friends, even hers. She slid a manila envelope across the table. This is for you. Inside were screenshots. Phone records. Copies of the texts he'd sent me once he'd sent, almost word for word, to other women before me. I saw my own name pop up in email drafts he never sent. Things he'd written about, needing a way out, and how you're different. I wasn't different. I was next. I asked her, why now? Why tell me? She looked at me with soft eyes and said, because I wish someone had done it for me. We finished our drinks in silence. I ended things with him that same day. I didn't yell. I didn't explain. I just said, your wife says hi, and left the phone on the table as I walked out. He tried to call. I never picked up. Months later, I heard she finally left him. Me? I started therapy. Started painting again. Started figuring out who I was before I became someone's secret. And I'll never forget what she said as we stood up to leave the cafe. You weren't the villain. You were just one chapter ahead of me. He was married, I was lonely. But I wasn't ready for how it would end. I met him at my lowest. New city. No friends. A breakup I hadn't healed from. I was drinking too much, sleeping too little, and telling myself I was just figuring it out. He was married. Told me up front. No lies, no excuses. We're not in love anymore. She's more like family now. I stay for the kids. I didn't flinch. I didn't ask for more. I just said, okay. I told myself I didn't want anything serious. That I could handle casual. That I didn't need someone to choose me just to see me. He saw me. He texted every morning. Took me out when I was spiraling. Held me when I cried and said, you deserve more than this. I believed him even when I knew he couldn't give it to me. We met in hotels. Walked in parks at night. He never stayed over. I never asked why. I was lonely, and he made the silence bearable. Until he didn't. It was a Sunday afternoon. We were walking downtown, hands grazing, faces too close for comfort. I'd convinced myself no one would see us. Then someone did. A woman. Mid-30s. She locked eyes with me, then him. Her smile froze. She walked past, but I saw it, the recognition. He didn't say a word. I asked, who was that? He said, no one. The next day he didn't text. I waited. By Tuesday I knew. Thursday I got the message. She knows. I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry. No explanation. No goodbye. Just done. I was angry. But mostly, I was ashamed. Ashamed of how small I'd made myself just to feel something. Ashamed of how easily I let someone rent space in my life without ever signing the lease. He chose her. Maybe out of fear. Maybe love. Maybe guilt. It doesn't matter. What matters is I chose me next. I blocked his number. Deleted our photos. Unfollowed every account that made me believe secret love was romantic. Took time. But I got there. And now? When I see couples holding hands, I don't wonder who's lying. I wonder who's lonely. Because I've been both sides of that silence. And I know how heavy it is to carry someone else's stolen hours. Never again. I didn't know he was married until I showed up at his house. We met at a networking mixer. He was confident, easy to talk to, that perfect balance of mature and flirty. Said he was single. Recently moved. Wore no ring. Laughed at all my jokes. He even offered to walk me to my car after I made a bad joke about serial killers in parking lots. We started dating casually. Once a week turned into twice, then weekends, then, I miss you, texts in the middle of workdays. He always came to my place. Said his house was being renovated. Said he had a roommate who worked nights and hated visitors. I didn't push. I liked the space. I liked him. But after 3 months, something shifted. He became harder to reach after 8 p.m. Weekends got trickier. He said he was tied up with work or had to help a friend through a rough patch. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. He didn't seem like a liar. One rainy Saturday he said he couldn't make it to dinner. Emergency work meeting. I said, fine, I'll bring you soup. He hesitated, then texted back a new address, not the one I had saved from his early business card. I didn't question it. I drove there, umbrella in hand, bag of takeout on the passenger seat. I rang the doorbell. She answered. Wife. I didn't know it at first. I thought I had the wrong house. She looked surprised to see me but not shocked. More tired. I said, I'm looking for Daniel. She nodded slowly. Of course you are. My stomach sank. She called into the house. Honey, you have a visitor. He came to the door like a ghost. Pale. Wide-eyed. Silent. And she just stepped aside, arms crossed. He whispered, I can explain. She said louder, I doubt she wants to hear it. She turned to me and added, you're not the first. But you look like you might be the last. Then she walked away. I stood on the porch, drenched in disbelief, holding a bag of chicken noodle soup and enough shame to drown in. I didn't yell. Didn't slap him. Just handed him the bag and said, you forgot to mention your wife. He didn't chase me. I cried the whole way home. Not because I lost him, but because I lost the version of myself who didn't yet know what it feels like to be lied to perfectly. It's been a year. I trust slower now. I ask more questions. And I never ever assume. Because sometimes the biggest lies wear the warmest smiles. And sometimes the truth opens the door in slippers and doesn't even look surprised to see you. Thanks for being here, story lovers. Your support turns every tale into something unforgettable.